At the close of the Middle Ages, European kingdoms were consolidating into states. After the Reconquista, Spain's separate kingdoms united under Castile and were finally centralised under the Bourbons. England absorbed Wales, then unified with Scotland. Germany didn't coalesce until 1871, and the same for Italy. France contested sovereignty with the English kings. Charles the Mad disowned his own son and left his crown to his son-in-law, Henry V, who 7 years after Agincourt died of dysentery, having conquered northern France and occupied Paris. His son, Henry VI, had a similar mental illness to his grandfather, Charles the Mad, which precipitated the Wars of the Roses. Charles VII then had the great good fortune of Joan of Arc conferring legitimacy upon him. He united the nobles and pushed the English back to Calais. He had created France's first standing army since Roman times. His additional war tax caused the nobles to rebel in the Praguery, which he crushed in 1440. He pardoned the participation of his son Louis XI the Cunning, who surrounded himself with advisers of humble origin and made civil reforms which favoured the merchants' class. When Charles the Bold died, his daughter Mary chose the Habsburg Emperor Maximilian over the French king's son, because Louis XI had already seized part of her lands. He described it as his biggest blunder. 18 years later, Maximilian was a widower and married Anne of Brittany by proxy. The ceremony involved a representative taking the wedding vows and placing a bare leg into the wedding bed. France couldn't countenance Habsburgs on two fronts, so Charles VIII invaded Brittany, had the marriage annulled and married Anne. He began France's long obsession with Italy, was initially welcomed as a saviour but proved no better than Spain. The League of Venice forced him out and he died 2 years later after banging his head on a door. Louis XII reduced taxes by 62%, cut pensions for the nobles and foreign princes. He also married Anne of Brittany to secure the province for the crown, launched the Second Italian Campaign, and reinstituted the Gallic Church, taking the power of appointments away from the Pope. Francis I was a classicist, but his love of dancing, archery and culture was no impediment to his devastating Italian wars. He berated the Pope for not allotting him a portion of the New World, reversed the independence of the Gallic Church for papal military assistance, and entered into a concordat with the Turks to counter Charles V's hegemony on Europe. The world turns under Henry II. France are finally ejected from Italy by Spain, and with the Peace of Cateau Cambresis, Henry marries his daughter to Philip II. At the celebratory joust, he takes a splinter in the eye, and his sudden death creates a power vacuum. Rival factions scramble for power. There are three parties: the Huguenots, Coligny and Navarre, the Catholic League, the Guise family, and the Politiques, the Duke of Montmorency. Catherine de' Medici's sole aim is the survival of the Valois dynasty. Francis II dies of an abscess after 18 months, and when the Duke of Guise slaughters Huguenots praying in a barn, he begins the Wars of Religion. Charles IX increasingly came under the influence of Admiral Coligny. In a double move, Catherine de' Medici married her daughter to Navarre and assassinated Coligny and the Huguenot leadership. The pathological Catholic League took the opportunity to slaughter 3,500 Huguenots in the St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre, for which the Pope minted a celebratory medal. 16 years later, the Guise brothers were assassinated and their associates butchered. The following year, Henry III was killed by a Dominican friar in a revenge attack. The Valois dynasty ends and Henry of Navarre becomes Henry IV, converts to Catholicism, and with the Edict of Nantes brings peace, moderation and good governance to France. He became a paradigm for the good king and was assassinated in 1610 by a Catholic fanatic.